Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wreck your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
It matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
Welcome back to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and Mr. Taylor, whose writings on the industry you can regularly read over on The Wrap, and whose musings on the Mission Impossible movies you can still listen to on Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. Drew and I are recording this week's show on Sunday, February 22nd, and the Winter Olympics have been on in this house 24/7 for the past 2 weeks. Have you and Katie been paying attention to this at all, or
not really? The only thing I've been paying attention to, Jim, are the hot figure skaters and other Olympians that are just everyone's talking about on Twitter. They're just that's all I see are women with gigantic asses who have been competing for their nations brilliantly, and we have nothing but respect for them, Jim. That's all that I've seen. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, as we speak, the closing ceremony is going on tonight in the house, and as for me, what I learned from this Winter Olympics is it's possible to cheat at curling, which near as I can figure through. I mean, they say curling has equipment, but it's like literally a stone and a broom.
We could do that, Jim. That's how much talent is involved. Yeah.
Well, now I don't know about that, Drew, because it turns out you can cheat. So and by the way you cheat in curling is double touching stones after they've been released at the hog line. And by the way, I want to say that line again: double touching stones when they were released at the hog line, because that's one of those weird sentences that sounds vaguely pornographic. That's perfectly innocent.
Right. I mean, this is going along with all the Olympians with the giant asses, Jim.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
There we go. But anyway, well, since you haven't obviously been watching all of the Olympics, what have you been doing this past week? More to the point, are there any talks or panels that you will be moderating soon that we can?
Well, there's one tomorrow that I can't promote because we are living in the future right now, Jim. But I'm doing something tomorrow with the Oscar-nominated animated shorts, and then I'm sure I'll be tapped for something else soon enough, Jim. I mean, 'tis the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now, toward that end, I was just sent a press release about the live action shorts. In fact, I want to say Taika Waititi is somehow involved with this.
Yeah. We were sort of bemoaning the fact that there is not a wider theatrical distribution for the animated shorts last week, but at least you'll get to see the live action shorts. Usually they kind of package them together and put them out into theaters. So
there we go.
I'm glad that's happening again this year.
Yeah. But again, I'd love to next week have you talk about this panel with the animated shorts and what came out of that.
Sure, including some animators from Disney who did Forever Green, including our favorite Jeremy Spears, who does the little wooden animals that you can buy online. I'm sure you've seen these, Jim. The little workshop.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. I'll be sure to report back.
Well, now speaking of award season, the Annies were held just last night. And K-Pop Demon Hunters, dear Lord, they flat out swept the ceremony. I read this right. 12 awards, winning in every single category that the Sony Pictures ImageWorks film was nominated in?
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. But you know what? Last year, Wild Robot won 10, Jim. So I think it's got a good head of steam, but you never know, Jim. They're the Arcos of the world, which won also last night for Best Independent Animated Feature. Waiting in the wings. So yeah.
All right. Well, we will discuss in depth who won what at the Annies later on in today's show. But before we do that, we want to chat a bit about the North American box office, but before we even do that, though, we have to acknowledge our sponsor, which is unlockmagic.com, the go-to place. So for some of the best deals in theme park tickets, if a Disney or Universal trip is anywhere on your radar in 2026, Unlock Magic helps you lock in great ticket prices without the stress. All handled by people who really know the parks and how to save you money. So if you're thinking, okay, maybe this is the year we finally go, head to unlockmagic.com to grab the very best ticket deals and then make that future trip just a little bit more magical. Okay, now to the domestic box office totals for this past weekend. On last week's fine-tuning, I mentioned, as I was reporting ticket sales over the long President's Day weekend on Sunday night, February 15th, that, the initial numbers that I was working with just estimates that we weren't going to get the actual hard box office numbers till Tuesday, February 17th. And this is why it was interesting that friends at Sony Picture Animation were already reaching out and like, hey, don't put so much weight in the North American box office numbers because we're hearing that GOAT over its weekend is doing better than is being reported, and that likewise Warner Brothers' Wuthering Heights isn't doing nearly as well as they say it is. And so did you see this, Drew, that they actually had to go from the numbers that were, in both cases, had to change the numbers that were estimated on Sunday night?
I didn't see that, but I mean, I did see that that GOAT was overperforming. And then I also saw that somebody noted that they hadn't opened in at least 60% of the territories worldwide. So it's going to be a long, good rollout for GOAT, I think, over the next few weeks.
You're not wrong. And to Drew's point, initial reports for GOAT were that it sold $32 million worth of tickets, and a day or so later, they revised that number upwards, that over the long President's Day weekend, it actually sold 35.1 million tickets, whereas Wuthering Heights initially reported as selling $40 million worth of tickets over the long President's Day weekend. Warner Brothers had to reach out and go, okay, we got to revise downward. That's actually 37.5. So now there was only 2.4 million separating GOAT and Wuthering Heights over their opening weekend. So taking that into account, what we just saw this past weekend, Drew, weekend 2 for both of these films at the domestic box office, were you surprised at all to have them swap positions?
No, I'd been told earlier in the week that GOAT was really going to take it over this weekend, and I think that's great. And I think, what's going to be nice is it's going to keep performing into the first weekend of March, which is when Hoppers comes out, and so there's actually going to be a few different options for families in the next few weeks, which is nice because it's just been Zootopia for the past 6 weeks, or David, I guess. Yeah, and I was thinking, Jim, we were talking about some theme park stuff before we got online, and do you think that Imagineering is incredibly annoyed by all the consternation they went through for Tiana's Bayou Adventure when there's now a movie coming out that could have necessitated a minimal retheme of Splash Mountain and maybe be better themed for that building? I don't know.
It is one of those moments where, you just don't know what's coming down the line. In fact, you and I have talked previously about, things that seemed so sure that, for example, Gigantic.
Yes.
Nathan Grano, director of Tangled, and then, Bobby and Kirsten Lopez, who wrote the score for Frozen. And here they were working on a version of Jack and the Beanstalk that Disney was so sure was actually going to come to theaters. Well, first of all, they did that amazing thing at the D23 Expo where they performed a song from the film and showed the art.
Yeah.
But they had already begun development of a Spain pavilion for Epcot where the central ride was going to be gigantic based. And in fact, supposedly the same ride system as Ratatouille. And, they went all the way down that road only to have that film be canceled.
Oh, I saw casting. I saw who they wanted for the cast for Gigantic, which I will keep my mouth shut for the time being.
Okay,
but, yeah, I mean, there was that time I was in New York, Jim, and I was walking past the Mandarin Oriental, and I saw them all come out and got in their cars. And it was like, I think that was like the last ditch effort to try to salvage it. But, in some other universe, Jim, in the multiverse.
Disney must have had some sort of deal with the Mandarin. I remember prior to the opening, in fact, 10 years ago, this year, when Aladdin, the Broadway musical opened, that's where they held the press event, up in the ballroom there. So, yeah, they must have given Disney a cut rate.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Zootopia, 13th week in domestic release, sold 2.3 million worth of tickets this past weekend. That's good enough for 9th place at the North American box office. By the way, 423 million in North America so far. It's 1.84 billion worldwide, and I think based on what I'm hearing from friends at Disney, they've pretty much given up hope about 2 billion, but they think 1.9 is still doable.
I think it also became Didn't it also become the highest grossing domestic movie of last year? Or have we gotten to that threshold yet?
What's interesting about Disney in regard to Zootopia 2 is trying to figure out what metric they want to push, to describe this film. I want to say I just saw that it was the highest grossing, film ever from the AMP.
Oh yeah, because they don't want to count Neza too.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. So yeah. I mean, again, it gets a little strange in that regard.
But it's a huge accomplishment, and I. Did you see that thing where again, I always bring it back to physical media, but they're selling out of all the Blu-rays and the 4K copies ahead of the release in early March.
No.
So, yeah.
Well, crud. Now I got to go order that. Okay. Well, all right. We'll do that on the break. And speaking of which, when Drew and I get back from this break, we're going to talk about that Toy Story 5 trailer that debuted last week. But first, this.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Ready to refresh your wardrobe? Nordstrom has all the latest styles for spring, from elevated dresses and denim to standout tops and accessories. Discover the trends and essentials you'll reach for again and again. We've got brands you love like Wave, Princess Polly, Mango, Adidas, and Favorite Daughter. Plus free shipping, free returns, and quick order pickup make updating your closet effortless. Shop in stores at Nordstrom.com or download our app.
We all have that dream trip we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life, or usually price, gets in the way. That's why Priceline is here to help you turn your dream trip into reality. With up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights, you can book everything you need for your next adventure. Don't just dream about that next trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com and book your next trip today.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
And we're back. Okay, Drew, we got the teaser trailer for Toy Story 5 back in November of last year, November 11th, 2025 to be exact. And I've always maintained that thing was kind of like the Toy Story 4 trailer. Do you remember the one where all of the toys are dancing together until they're not?
Yes. That trailer dropped, Jim, when we were doing our Pixar event in Walt Disney World.
That it did.
And if you want to see another event from me and Jim, sound off. Yes,
okay, all right, duly noted. But yeah, that was actually November of 2018, and that was 8 months before that Pixar film arrived in theaters in June of 2019, and we didn't see any of that footage in the finished film. So I was saying the same thing about the Toy Story 5 teaser trailer with all of the characters looking terrified, that it's like, I don't think we're going to see this in the movie. But same thing. The the official trailer for Toy Story 4 debuted March 18th, 2019. So just so you understand, folks, we got the Toy Story 5 trailer a full month earlier than we got the Toy Story 4 trailer. And I liked what I saw, Drew. What did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's early because it's being attached to Hoppers the first week of March. And yeah, I thought it was a great trailer. Obviously, this one is being written and directed by Andrew Stanton, which is super exciting. Mm-hmm. The new characters look fun. I liked that how they were incorporating Woody's kind of odyssey, because Jim, as you know, I am a Toy Story 4 super fan, so I wanted to make sure that they did not betray my beautiful, beloved Toy Story 4. And yeah, it looks great. And I know I was at the Hoppers Junket the other day, Jim, where I got to see a owl in real life. So I just want to tell you that. It was really great. And I did a virtual reality thing and all this stuff. So maybe we'll save that for our Hoppers dedicated episode, maybe.
Cool.
But everyone on the Pixar and Disney sides were very happy with their response to the Toy Story 5 trailer. I think I actually saw one person's pupils turn into dollar bills actually in front of my face. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Drew and I have the same concern. I mean, I'm not as big a fan of Toy Story 4, but I love the ending of that film. And in fact, I honestly, I think my favorite aspect of this trailer was them explaining how Woody has managed to stay in touch with his friends this whole time. And it's like, it's the baby monitors from the very first Toy Story.
And it's such an elegant solution to that too, right? Like, it's just like, of course he was going to check in. Of course.
And I love his return. And I think they did a really elegant job of quickly sketching out the stakes. And also, again, as a story constructionist, I love the fact that, this is Jessie's nightmare. What she went through with Emily, that they sketched out, with When Somebody Loves You in that film. Only, happening so much earlier with Bonnie at such a younger age. And so, this has got to be freaking her out. So that's why she calls, Woody back for help. And, yeah.
This is very much, Jessie's movie. I think everyone should know that now. This is a very Jessie forward movie. All the toys are there, but this is really Jessie's movie. So I think that's very exciting. She's wearing, that she's the one kind of leading the toys in Bonnie's room. And I don't know, it's super exciting after all these years to have her kind of take center stage. We had Bo kind of be the lead of the last movie. So I think it's nice that everybody's getting a moment to shine, Jim.
That's it, exactly. Though we do have one significant new member of the Bonnie's Toy Room gang, and that's Smarty Pants, the character that Conan O'Brien is voicing. And it was this week they finally revealed that Smarty Pants is actually a toilet training based or a
well, look at him, Jim. He looks like toilet paper. Of course, that's what he is.
But what I love about this is that evidently Conan O'Brien, when he came to Pixar to record the lines for this, the team there asked him as a favor if he would then go into the bathroom at Pixar and basically graffiti the wall, as the voice of Smarty Pants. And it's like, I wanted to ask if you'd made your way into the bathroom off of the lobby there at in Emeryville, and whether or not you got to see this.
It is pretty funny that they have the Harvard-educated Conan O'Brien playing the toilet toy.
There we go.
But Jem, when you find that toy in Target, you're gonna have to pick up two and send me one.
All right, I will do that. I will do that. Now, speaking of Pixar, we were talking about the Annies earlier in today's show. I am happy to see that Win or Lose got some love this year at the Annies. It took home an award for Best Limited Series on TV and Media. Likewise, Best Character Animation in TV and Media. So nice to see that get some recognition.
Absolutely.
Also, again, given that the Bad Guys movies have such a wonderful look and a style to them, it was nice to see that they also took home an Annie for Best Storyboard. Likewise, now mind you, this started off as a DreamWorks movie, but then became, in the live-action version, a Universal Pictures release. But it was nice to see How to Train Your Dragon take home the Best Character Animation Annie in the live-action category. And I think Drew, just a moment ago, was mentioning about Argo. Though I was kind of intrigued that the category it won in was Best Feature Independent, so that's how they list the foreign films at the Annies these days?
I guess so. I guess just anything without a studio backing, although I don't know.
Okay.
It gets a little muddy there because I don't know. Neon is the distributor here. They're a real studio. I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
And speaking of not having a studio for distribution, it was kind of cool to see Aaron Blaze's passion project, Snow Bear, take home the best short subject.
Oh, I was so happy about that.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah, I agree. But back now to K-Pop Demon Hunters. I mean, holy cow. In the feature animation category, this Sony Pictures animation project, Best Feature, Best Director, Best Character Animation, Best Character Design, Best Production Design, Best Writing, Best Music, Best Voice Acting, Best Effects, Best Editorial. What's left? So we're assuming at this point it's a lock, right, for the Oscar, because Best Animated Feature Oscar, because the Annies are pretty good gauge of that from years previous.
They are, but like I said, Jim, Wild Robot won 10 last year,
wrong.
And it ended up getting usurped at the last minute. So I don't know. Yeah, I think we're pretty much a lock, and if not, it's fine. There's going to be so much more from the K-pop world soon enough.
Oh,
so
God, yeah.
I would love to see the win, though. You're right.
Yeah, and the other thing that would be fascinating. I mean, I face it, if the feature at this point seems like a given, I just wonder when we get to the best song category whether or not Golden will manage to pull that off. But anyway, Netflix has to be thrilled with how K-Pop Demon Hunters is doing. Likewise, Sony. And speaking of Sony, news broke this past week that we've got an animated version of Venom now in the works. And what's kind of interesting about that is we supposedly got the third and final, for now, live-action Venom, Venom: The Last Dance, in theaters, October of 2024. And what was interesting about what got reported in the trades about this animated Venom project is Tom Hardy, who played Eddie Brock in all three of the live-action Venom films and then cameoed as that same character in the post-credit scene of Spider-Man No Way Home. He's supposed to be a producer of this animated project, as will Kelly Marcel, who wrote all three of these movies and then directed the third installment.
And wrote Saving Mr. Banks.
Yes, thank you. I've always been fascinated by, she does such a great job with the Venom movies, but then it's like, and Saving Mr. Banks.
She's like Tom's BFF. So they work on a lot of stuff together. That's how she was drawn into the world of Venom. But from what I know, I reached out. I was at the Hoppers Junket on Friday, but I was texting friends at Sony, and they said that it was just so premature to even announce it, that it is in development. But I'm not even sure if paperwork has been signed, so the ink is not dry on anything. Yeah.
Thank you, because that bears out what I was told as well. It's like, basically, it's like, look, we're still finishing Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which, by the way, still is slated to go out into theaters June 18th, 2027. So this is far beyond that film. It's 2028.
Yes, and there are many, many movies being worked on there, like and also that are taking precedent over, or will be out before the Venom movie. So,
all right. Now, by the way, Drew previously on this podcast has talked about what a fan he was both of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Mutant Mayhem, which came out in the theaters back in August of 2023, plus the short that came out.
Did you watch the short, Jim?
Not yet. Again, I when I'm out in LA, next month, I want to see these bogus toys that Katie got
will
for
show
you.
them too.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, speaking of which, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 2 just had its release date moved up. Initially arriving in theaters September 17th, 2027, now arriving August 13th of that same year, so moved up by a full month into summer blockbuster season. So
yes. I've heard that it had some fits and starts, Jim, but that everybody is super happy with it right now. It's a lot of the same team that worked on the first movie as well as the short, and they're all very excited. So I am excited as well.
Cool. Okay, now speaking of Paramount-related things that got their release date changed, Tracy Miller Zaranek's SpongeBob SquarePants: The Art of the Undersea World, which was previously supposed to hit store shelves this past week on Tuesday, the February 17th, has had its release date pushed back now to Tuesday, March 3rd, and I was told by the publisher basically that not our fault. We live in a tariff-impacted world now, and it just...
Which book is this, Jim?
This is the Art of the Undersea World, the SpongeBob SquarePants book, which...
Oh...
You're making a noise like,
great.
Do we already have?
I didn't know about it until this very moment. So now I'm very excited. So now it's only a short wait for me.
There we go. Because I've been tracking this thing for months, but it was one of these things where it's like it was literally on the slow boat from China, and showing up 2 weeks late, but evidently worth the wait. And by the way, speaking of foreign imports, Netflix has just revealed that it has acquired I Am Frank Elda. Am I saying that name right?
I Am Frank Elda. Yeah, it's a kind of female Frankenstein thing, which all the rage, Jim. We got Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride coming out in a few weeks, and now we got this.
Yeah.
But I've heard it's wonderful. I know Guillermo really championed it. It's the first stop-motion feature entirely produced in Mexico.
Yeah. Now, directed by Arturo and Roy Ambres. And by the way, Guillermo's supposedly the producer of this thing, right?
Yes, I think he came on after the fact. And I think they used some of the studios that had been set up for Frankenstein that are now being used by...
There we go.
I keep doing that, Jim. What is going on with me today?
Some sort of sound glitch, folks. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, I Am Frank and Elda, again, acquired by Netflix, and that streamer supposedly has plans to bring this out this fall, I'm hearing, is sort of a Halloween-themed offering?
Yes. I don't know if they have the exact date, but someone was telling me that, it's coming out this fall. So that'll be right before a little something we like to call Ray Gun is coming out this fall as well, Jim. So, yeah.
Wow. I am just fascinated by that because it wasn't all that long ago. Weren't we talking about how that wasn't going to happen? That was happening.
When you are getting a pay or play deal, Jim, the size of Brad Bird's.
Okay. All right.
You play, I guess is what it is. Yeah.
That's fascinating. All right. And speaking of animation legends like Mr. Bird. Sadly, we lost one this past week, and when we get back, Drew and I are going to talk about Jane Bear. But first,
this episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Introducing Virtuo Up, the latest in a long line of innovation from Nespresso. It's innovation you can touch, sense, and taste in every single cup. With a 3-second start, easy open lever, and dedicated brew over ice button, it's even easier to enjoy your coffee your way. Sip for yourself. Shop Virtuo Up exclusively at Nespresso.com.
this and we're back. Well, look, you just heard us in the last segment of the show talking about SpongeBob SquarePants, the art of the undersea world. And so we like talking about animation books here on Fine Tuning, and not just because Drew writes them. By the way, Art of Amphibia still available. Oh, I meant to ask you, do you know anything about this the thing Matt's working on, the Clara and the Underworld, I think it's called?
You might get an exclusive report about that, Jim, coming to therap.com in maybe mere days. But yes, we have gone through it in forensic detail, what Matt is up to, and it's really interesting, the kind of alternative, like we talked about Dana's project a lot on here, that is getting a full season order, and what they're doing at Glitch. And this is kind of along those same lines of just kind of like getting out from around the studio system and being able to make something. I recently heard Andrew Stanton say he wanted to go from making one thing every 4 years to 4 things every year. And I think that is really the drive of a lot of these great creators. And you'll get to learn all about this very soon. I promise. We talk about the Sony movie. We talk about his new studio. And we talk about Clara and the Below, which is going to be super, super cool. So, yes, stay tuned for that very soon.
Can't wait. Okay. And by the way, folks, again, Drew and I are very strong supporters of this is Kickstarter, not Indiegogo, or
it's Kickstarter, and his new studio is called Fantasy Projects. So, yeah,
cool.
It's
cool.
It's all happening, Jim.
Okay. And again, but we like books here at Fine Tuning. In fact, right now I'm reading Karen Fang's Background Artist, The Life and Story of Tyrus Wong. Mind you, published back in October of 2024. Only just found out about it because, like Drew, just sort of like I was ordering something from Amazon, and the little algorithm thing, like, oh, you ordered this, you might be interested in that. And it's like, when did a Tyrus Wong book come out?
I didn't know that came out either. Now I got to order it.
Okay.
Jeez Louise.
All right. But a book that when it came out in September of 2017, that was an absolute must purchase, was Ink and Paint, The Women of Disney's Animation. This was by Mindy Johnson, who had spent, I want to say, a decade doing the interviews and the research for this 384-page book from Disney Editions. But it discussed long overlooked female artists and writers at Disney Studios, folks like Dorothy Ann Blank, who one of the actual credited writers on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or Mildred Rossi, who did special effects on Chernabog in Fantasia, and sadly one of the people that Mindy profiled in this book we lost in the past week, and that was Jane Bear, who was born Jane Marie Shattuck in October of 1934 up in Canada. She died this past week, February 16th, 2026, at the age of 91, and a giant in the industry. Though I have to say, Drew, I got a smile out of your description, well, how long she had been in the industry. Yes. Do you want to tell,
Well, she was, as Jim likes to point out, I like to kind of focus my area of expertise in the 80s and 90s of Disney, and she was working at Disney full throttle back then. I believe it might have been Don Hahn who described to me as she was often described within the company as being found by Walt in the in the Los Angeles River in a wicker basket, and he kind of adopted her and put her to work. But the amount of stuff that she did, the amount of departments that she touched, I mean, in her kind of eulogy somewhere, her obituary, they had a photo of her working on Roger Rabbit. I mean, it's like insane. But anyway, yeah.
And again, she got her training at the Art Center Pasadena, but before starting at Disney in 1955 as an assistant animator on Sleeping Beauty. And Drew's not wrong, that she continued to work at the studio right up until Black Cauldron in 1985, which is when a lot of folks, stepped away from Disney. And what was interesting is that this was when Jane and her husband Dale set up Bear Studios.
But wasn't she brought back for something? Because there was some issue. I'm not gonna get the story wrong, but there was some issue with the cells for The Little Mermaid were being outsourced.
Well, we're going to get to that story in a moment because she got that gig because she and Dale came to the rescue on Roger Rabbit. So about the Toontown scene, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're talking about here, folks, is Disney had this locked-in release date for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Could not miss that date. They had a promotional deal set with both McDonald's and I want to say Diet Coke, who were committing
Diet Coke. Yep.
All right, tens of millions of dollars for a national campaign that helped to launch this movie. And in fact, it's Don Hahn who tells the story about. I want to say it's November of '87, and he and Richard Williams have to fly in from London to New York, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, flies in from Burbank because they are so far behind schedule, they're not going to make the date. And in fact, it's in Don Hahn's book. He actually tells this story. Corn Dogs Dancing in the Night. By the way, wonderful book. Find a copy, folks. But at one point in this meeting, they're in, I guess, Disney's corporate headquarters in New York City, and Katzenberg walks Don up to the window and points down to, a bunch of guys working in the street filling potholes. And Katzenberg essentially says, if we miss this release date, that's your next job. All right. There's no way you'll ever work in this industry again. I will destroy you. But coming away from the meeting, they realized with the team that we have animating in London, there's just no way, with just that group of artists, we're going to make the deadline. We need another studio. So they reach out to Bear Studio, and they hand Dale and Jane the toughest part of the movie. They hand them the has to work Toontown section where Eddie, goes to Toontown and is looking for Jessica and, gets shot at by Judge Doom. And I mean, it had to work. It was the one that was filled with cameos from characters from the 30s that had to look on model, and it had to work with Zemeckis' dynamic of the live action side of this film where the camera kept moving. It was an impossible thing. And Dale and Jane pulled it off. And in fact, Jane, I want to say, worked on all of the Benny the Cab stuff for that part of the movie, where it's that scene where you actually learn that. Well, spoiler alert, folks. Jessica Rabbit didn't do it. And the film came out in '88. I'm fairly confident that I'm not spoiling this for too many people. But to get back to what Drew was saying, as a thank you for basically saving Who Framed Roger Rabbit, making it possible for that movie to arrive in theaters on time, Bear Studio, they then pivoted immediately to them. And by the way, we're also running behind schedule on Little Mermaid. Can you help us out there? And that came out in November of '89. And then, they worked on a lot of non-Disney stuff. I mean, I want to say Fern Gully and Rover Dangerfield, which, by the way, for a really terrible film, has some wonderful animation in it. Also, the first Swan Princess.
Wow, Jim, no respect at all.
And but what was fascinating to me was that on the heels of having worked on Roger Rabbit, they did the Danny DeVito cat character in Last Action Hero.
Oh, that is such a great character. I love that, Jim.
Yeah. But again, that's strictly in the back. You did this before, animation and live action. Do it again. And at the same time, she also, Jane helped out when Disney was getting started with the Roger Rabbit short. She effectively worked as a producer on Tummy Trouble. But yeah, the Bears worked forever. In fact, Dale actually came back to Disney. And I want to say worked on the what is it, the Winnie the Pooh a film from 2011 2012.
Yeah, that was the Winnie the Pooh movie was really like the 1994 NBA All Stars. The dream team of everybody coming back for that movie, because it was like the last gasp of 2D animation. And I just remember that junket, Jim, and every single every animator that was assigned to every single one of those characters was like a legend. It was insane.
No, I still remember that press event myself, just going from room to room to room and getting to talk to all of these masters. And then, the kicker, Disney puts it out into theaters the exact same weekend as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, as if, let's just put the prince straight into the wood chipper. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and like released like several months after it came out in Europe for some reason. Remember that too?
Yeah.
It had been out in England anyway. Yeah.
Makes me crazy. Anyway, getting back now to Ink and Paint, the women of Walt Disney Animation. I was lucky enough to get to meet Jane when Minnie's book launched back in 2017. And as you might expect, she had some great stories, very gracious, and to kind of bring this full circle, Mindy, who had been Jane's friend forever, she was the one who broke the news this past week that Jane had died in her sleep at home in Van Nuys, and let's be honest, that's kind of the way we all want to go. But it says a lot about this woman that at 91 years of age, folks were still saying we lost her too soon. But great talent.
It makes me wonder if they ever... Remember they announced a documentary series based on Ink and Paint when Disney, even before Disney Plus had launched, and I wonder where that is. Number one, number two, if they talked to her before she passed, and if anyone has any information, please drop us a line on our Unsolved Mysteries hotline. We are standing by.
There we go. All right. Anyway, as Drew and I close up here, we want to offer our sincerest condolences to the Dale family and friends for their loss. Again, Jane was a great talent and a wonderful person, and we're sorry to lose her. But anyway, on that note, we're closing up shop here this week. But again, if you've enjoyed what you've heard here, especially the stories that Mr. Taylor has shared on this week's show, want to remind you about Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. This is the show that Drew did with Charles Hood, and there are nearly 300 episodes in that show's archive, and every one of them is loaded with the sort of amazing stories that only Drew can draw out of folks. And we have some other shows here. You might want to, at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, you might want to check out Disney Dish with Len Testa, the Epic Universal Podcast I do with Eric Hersey. He's our producer here at the Podcast Network. Likewise, I Want That Too. Disney Merch Podcast I do with Eric's lovely bride, Lauren. Let's see. We have, I think, just posted our Eddie Sato tribute over on Patreon on Disney Unpacked. And we should, later this week, As they shut down Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney's Hollywood Studios, we have a show there for Patreon where Mr. Schul looks back on the construction of that thrill ride at the park in the late 90s.
Before Tony Stark took it over in Paris.
Also true.
I rode that one, Jim. It was very different.
Yeah. Did the projection or projection stuff work in it at all? Or
yeah, as far as I remember, yeah, it was
okay.
But I really liked the animatronic in the queue. That was
though a funny story. That animatronic, by the way, all electric because they could, you're standing there in the queue space, and if you hear Tony Stark humming because the electricity, it's like, well, yeah, it's a suit. It would hum.
Right.
But the interesting part is they literally built that thing, and this was an animatronic built after the Yeti failed inside of Expedition Everest. So every animatronic since that time has what they refer to as the Yeti meeting, where it's like, all right, what do we do when this thing breaks down? Because it's going to break down. And, so they set it up so it can be taken out of the building. In fact, there's a door right behind that thing where they can slide it out and take it out. But all of those giant monitors they have in that same space, when they take the animatronic out, they can just, put the pre-show element up on one of those screens.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that they would replace him with a 16-year-old French kid smoking, going, "Hello, it is me, Tony Stark. Don't even worry, I'm here. We're going to get through this. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing." That's my
okay.
French Tony Stark.
Thank you for offending an entire nation. But yeah, no, they actually, that is it's the same thing with what is it? Millennium Falcon.
The alligator in Shanghai. I know that.
Yeah,
right? That has a whole thing that can.
It does. Just the Yeti meeting. But anyway, all right. Before we close up here, folks, I want to thank Eric Hersey and David Gray for the great job they do producing and editing the show. Also, quick favor to ask before we go, if you could head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show as well as Light Diffuse. Social media, Drew, where can the nice folks find you?
Drew Tailored, like a tailored shirt, on Instagram and Twitter mostly. And Jim, where can people find you?
Okay, let's see. I'm on X and Instagram as Jim Hill Media, and then over on Facebook as Jim Hill Media News. And all right, I guess that's going to do it for this week. So
I think that's it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, folks. And again, pay attention to the wrap this coming week, because a cool story involving Matt Braley talking about Clara.
Yes, I can say more than one cool animation story this week. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
All right, do that, folks. And until next time, thanks for listening.